After the terrible finish in Monza, where he was able to move up one spot because Russell's race was harmed from the start, Max Verstappen had a lot to say about the team. He was able to move up one slot. Despite the fact that Norris added 8 more points to the Dutchman's lead in the Drivers' Championship, Verstappen is not going to be pleased with what is going to happen in the next couple of races. This is because he witnessed how dominating McLaren and Ferrari were at Monza, which is a track that should function well for Red Bull's low downforce car given its characteristics. When it comes to Verstappen's future at Red Bull, however, is it possible to claim with absolute certainty that he will depart the Austrian camp? It is now simply a matter of when, if not now. Immediately following the most recent Grand Prix in Monza, Max Verstappen was visibly fuming with rage. The fact that Russell had damaged his front wing in Turn 1 prevented him from achieving his goal of finishing on the podium, but he was able to move up one spot as a result during the very first lap of the race. Additionally, it appeared as though the team was heading in the wrong direction with the initial pit stop, which resulted in Verstappen losing more than 6 seconds while he was holding the car. Despite the fact that this did not have an impact on his overall performance, it did demonstrate that the fractures that Joe S. and Max had been trying to tell us about since a few months ago are now visible everywhere. Evidently, Verstappen was dissatisfied with the car and the manner in which it was behaving during the entire race. In addition to the car accident that occurred during qualifying on Saturday, which occurred again in the pit lane on Sunday, the 3-time world champion was quite upset that the crew could not have done a better job here. These two events occurred simultaneously. Following the team's congratulation on his 6th-place finish in a car that wasn't performing particularly well, Max made a statement that would give you the chills. "I agree with Horner that was a very enjoyable drive, Max. This weekend we are sorry that we were unable to provide you with a nicer car, but we hope that you had a wonderful drive." This is the response that Verstappen gave. "We are not where we belong. It would appear that everything did not work out for us. Unfortunately, we did not receive the power, speed, or pit stops that we desired. To turn the car around, we are going to have to put in a lot of effort." The race that Verstappen was competing in was impacted by a number of factors, not just this one. No one was addressed by the pit wall, and it did not pay attention to anyone. Near the end of the race, he was also required to deliver a statement regarding this matter. Would it be possible for the individuals in the background to become awake? Verstappen inquired of his race mechanic. He concluded by saying, "I know this is hard, but it's important." Verstappen and his fans were under the impression that the race would end less favorably than it actually did. The McLaren team, which was the overwhelming favorite to win, finished in 2nd and 3rd place alike. What is more significant is the fact that Norris finished in 3rd place. On the very last lap of the race, the driver executed the quickest lap, which resulted in a reduction of 8 points in the lead. It has reached 62 points at this stage. Due to the fact that there are only 8 races and 3 sprint events left in the season, it is highly unlikely that any other driver will have a chance to win the Drivers' and Drivers' Championship. However, the fact that Red Bull may be 3rd in the Constructors' standings after Singapore demonstrates how swiftly the team has departed from the path they had expected to follow in order to further their career. There has been a lot of discussion regarding this matter, and Joe S. Verstappen has stated that nobody paid attention to his son when he was being concerned about the issue 3 months ago. Taking this into consideration, it is possible that Horner, who is in control of what is happening at the moment, was too preoccupied with something else that was not as crucial as working on the RB20. Jose also mentioned that we did not anticipate the disparity to be as large as it actually was. Zandvoort caused them a great deal of disappointment. It is undeniable that Max is a fighter, but after the race he did not feel a great deal of anger at Red Bull because they did not perform very well. If you are able to win races at the beginning of the season, then everything will make perfect sense. On the other hand, Max stated at the time that it was not balanced. Without a doubt, that was not communicated at the time. The group made an effort to keep it a secret. Max said that the car was not balanced approximately 3 months ago, but they did not really trust him or observe it despite his assertions. Currently, it is getting a little bit late. When Max and Perez finish in close proximity to one another in qualifying in the race, it is clear that things are not going well. Perez himself has stated that the 3-time world champion has an easier time fixing the issues with the car than he does. Red Bull, on the other hand, has been going through a rough patch and has only managed to score 12 points over the course of the weekend. This is despite the fact that the track is quite similar to Spa and should have been great for the RB20, which is a significant amount less than Ferrari and McLaren, the two teams that are currently in first place. As a result of this, the difference between the team from Milton Keynes and the squad from Woking Base is now only 8 points. In the meantime, Ferrari has once again entered the race, and they are currently only 39 points behind Red Bull and 31 points behind McLaren. According to Max Verstappen, this is not something that can be made better in a short amount of time. In addition, the three-time world champion discussed the issues that have been associated with the RB20. He mentioned that if you experience problems with your balance during a single lap of practice, those issues would not simply disappear during the race. The situation has the potential to rapidly deteriorate if it continues in this manner. To be honest, I've always been like that. My request was heard by the professionals at Red Bull, however, it is really challenging to find a means to implement it. I have a feeling that they are listening, but they are still unsure about what they should do. There is a problem with this. Moreover, this was demonstrated even further by the fact that Max Verstappen and engineers from Milton Keynes participated in a Zoom call prior to the Monza Grand Prix in order to discuss the shortcomings of the vehicle and investigate potential solutions to these issues. On the other hand, the race itself demonstrated that there does not appear to be any method to reverse one's course while one is heading in the incorrect direction. One of the primary reasons for this is that the vehicle was outfitted with components that enabled it to achieve outstanding results in the first 5 races of the season. As a result, it is clear that the squad is unable to do much or anything at this point. This leads me to question whether or not Verstappen is now prepared to go on to the next stage of his career. A significant change in Horner's demeanor has occurred during the past several days. Even though Zandvoort was only the 4th occasion that Norris had lost points to Max, he stated a few days earlier that there was no reason to be concerned about the situation. Currently, the British individual has altered the tone of his voice to make him sound more concerned. While he was discussing the shortcomings of the RB20, the Red Bull team principal, who is 50 years old, made the following statement: "The situation we're in now is very tricky, and I think we just don't understand it. On scrubs, we achieved a score of 19.6, and on 2 sets of fresh tires, we were unable to achieve a score higher than 20.0. The relationship is not well balanced. You are able to pay attention to what Verstappen to say. There is something going on that we are not aware of at the moment, and it is fundamentally something. It is imperative that we determine what is going on and why we are able to achieve that time with the tires that were purchased earlier but not with the 2 sets of new tires. The answers are nowhere to be found, and Horner's tone has remained pessimistic because, despite the fact that it appeared as though they obtained a great deal of information that was helpful at Zandvoort, there is nothing that they have done to the vehicle that has caused it to gain speed. Although the track at Monza was not as favorable for the RB20 as the one he raced at home, Verstappen nevertheless managed to finish in 6th place. Norris lost points in the Drivers' Championship as a result of his finish, which means that Piastri and Leclerc gained points from him. That is the only group of people for whom he ought to be joyful at this moment." The tone of Horner's speech continued to be pessimistic as he continued to say, "An older version of the specification was executed in Zandvoort to determine whether or not it resolved any issues. When all was said and done, we were still dealing with the same issues and characteristics. That provided the boys with a great deal of information, but then again it was a great deal for us to comprehend. It is imperative that it be rectified as soon as possible because McLaren has made significant progress in the most recent races. We are currently in 2nd place behind Ferrari and Mercedes at Monza as well. There appears to be a significant void in the Red Bull team ever since Newey left the organization. Helmut Marko has stated that he would have been able to handle things much better if he had been a full-time part of the team that was working on the problem. This is despite the fact that the team has been insistent that the 65-year-old had nothing to do with their current situation. In spite of this, Red Bull is solely responsible for the entire catastrophe that they have created. In the latter part of 2024 and throughout the entirety of 2025, only time will tell if that will come back to terrorize them. At this moment, the team is having a difficult time getting the vehicle to a state where Verstappen could at least contend for a podium finish. This represents a significant challenge for the team. On the other hand, only time will tell. Now that everything has been taken into consideration, do you believe that Verstappen has a valid reason to be unhappy at Red Bull? Perhaps more crucially, do you believe that it would be entirely appropriate for him to search for another team and make preparations for his next move now that Red Bull's decline has been very obvious since Miami? Please let us know in the comments section and then proceed to click on the movie that immediately appeared on your screen.